Well, the long-awaited Pokemon Go Fest 2025 Max Finale was this past weekend, and... Okay, I can tell some of you are upset, but if we're being honest, there is and has always been a ton of negativity constantly swirling around Pokemon Go. I mean, if you went to the Sylph Road, the largest Pokemon Go community on Reddit, you'd swear it was a community dedicated to bringing down the game. So I really try, to see the positive and negative in all things Pokemon Go. So let's see if we can find the highs and lows of the Pokemon Go Fest Max Finale. Let's start by talking about Gigantamax raids, and I want to give you a bit of my own personal history with them. When Gigantamax raids were first introduced in October 2024, I did something I had never done since the game was first released. Absolutely nothing. I mean, I watched as communities all around the globe struggled to fill lobbies, struggled to just complete the raids, and even when they did, struggled to catch the Pokemon. So I decided to sit back and wait, because if there's one thing that's certain in Pokemon Go, it's that nothing stays gone forever. Okay, almost nothing. And this past weekend, I felt vindicated for that decision to stay patient. Because during Pokemon Go Fest Finale, I was able to remote raid and catch Gigantamax Kingler, Toxtricity, Snorlax, Gengar, Venusaur, Charizard, Machamp, Cinderace, and Inteleon. None were shiny, of course, but just by using my friends list and remoting in, I was able to comfortably tick several Gigantamax Pokemon off my didn't haves. And by stockpiling MP, I was able to unlock their moves and power them all up to level 31. Bringing my Gigantamax and Dynamax raid party into relevance. In addition, by doing several 1 to 3 star Dynamax raids, I received shiny Dynamaxes of Shuckle, Kabuto, Squavette, and Machop. But it is at this point where the highs of the, quote, biggest event yet unfortunately end. So let's dig into the lows, because not only will I touch on the complaints many others have had, I've also managed to uncover a major one that I haven't seen anyone else talking about. Let's start with the elephant in the room, the Eternatus raids. Now, a lot of people have complained about spending the resources to do raids only to not receive an encounter at the end. And while I could defend that by pointing out that for the past month in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, players have been doing exactly that to unlock the shiny treasures of Ruin, I'd instead like to ask the question, why were so many of you doing so many of them? Throughout the weekend when I pulled up my friends list, the majority of players were doing these raids. I saw the exact same things that you did, that it was a waste of MP, a waste of remote raid passes, a waste of money, or all of the above. And I just didn't. So the question I was asking myself all weekend was, why is everyone else raiding these? Doing a handful of Gigantamax and Dynamax raids, I was easily able to complete my research and get my Eternatus, 10-10-13 if you're wondering, and all the big candy bundles with the research. So the answer to the question, why keep raiding Eternatus, is to power it up and make it more powerful. Which leads to the next question, why power it up? And the answer to that question is important because the developers may have just accidentally ruined Gigantamax raids entirely. So let's talk about Gigantamax Pokemon and why I didn't feel compelled to pursue them. See, there's a central flaw in their design that makes them inherently less intuitive and rewarding than, say, Mega Evolutions. Both have unique and interesting designs, are significantly more powerful than their base forms, require a modest effort of raiding to obtain, and once you do, you're able to change them to these forms at any time, but with one major difference. A Mega Evolved Pokemon can be used for, well, everything besides PvP. You Mega Evolve them and you can make them your buddy, take them for a walk, use them in raids, use them to take down gyms. They feel yours. Gigantamax Pokemon, on the other hand, can only do one thing: battle in other Dynamax or Gigantamax raids. They are only good for this one thing, and that one thing is getting more Dynamax or Gigantamax Pokemon. Which in terms of player feedback screams, do this so you can do more of this, making the game's cycle obvious and apparent. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. But the cherry on top is that what the developers did by releasing Eternatus and encouraging players to power him up, perhaps unknowingly, broke the whole damn system. Okay, so I mentioned that going into this event, I had exactly 0 Gigantamax Pokemon, and was excited to finally get my team up to speed. The very first Gigantamax Pokemon I raided was Machamp, which I caught using what the game recommended: a level 31 Crown Form Zacian, a level 31 Crown Form Zamazenta, and my Eternatus that I'd powered up to level 20. I did the raid, caught my Machamp, immediately powered him up to level 31, and maxed out his attack move. I did this because Machamp's fighting type is super effective against Dark, Normal, Rock, Steel, and Ice, so it would hit hard for super effective damage on Gigantamax Lapras and Gigantamax Snorlax, which I also needed. After a while, I found a group raiding a Gigantamax Snorlax, and was excited to put my newly acquired Gigantamax Machamp to work. But when I joined, I found that the game recommended Zacian, Zamazenta, and Eternatus. I backed out and re-entered Zacian, Zamazenta, and Eternatus. And this was true throughout the day. No matter what Gigantamax Pokemon I battled, no matter how powered up any of my other Gigantamax Pokemon were, the game always recommended I use Zacian, Zamazenta, and Eternatus. Now, the recommended formula in Pokemon Go isn't perfect, but even if it's flawed in some way, what the game was doing was demonstrating just how pointless doing any of these Gigantamax raids actually are. That even doing the one thing these Gigantamax Pokemon are useful for, they are totally outmatched by the same 3 Pokemon. No matter the target, no matter the typing, just use Zacian, Zamazenta, and Eternatus. And I think that's partly why, at this very moment, as I'm writing the script in the middle of Day 2 of the Pokemon Go Fest Finale Max event, both my local community Discord and my friends list are bone dry. No one is raiding. There's no lobbies to jump into. There's nothing to do. There's no shiny boosted spawns, there's no eggs to hatch. Even the one thing there is to do, raid, has left people with such a bad taste in their mouth that it's a dud.
What did we learn, Palmer?
When it comes to weekend events in Pokemon Go, they can generally be filed into one of 2 categories. Minor events, ones which last a few hours and focus on a specific task, like community days, raid days, research days, and the like, and major events, which last the entire weekend and offer a smorgasbord of things to do, like Pokemon Go Fest, Pokemon Tour, and the Wild Area. These 2 categorizations neatly describe and define the events. But the Pokemon Go Fest Max Finale doesn't fit into either of these categories. It was a weekend-long event that came with the promise of being the biggest yet. There was even a lead-up event to the event, giving players the feeling of a major global event on the horizon. But what came felt more like a minor event with an expensive bar of entry. The event lasted the whole weekend, but didn't have nearly enough to do to fill the time or make it worth our while. Much of this can be blamed on the developers, but I think part of the blame should also fall on us as players. The game wasn't secretive about what the event offered, yet I saw many players and content creators acting like they were seemingly bewildered by it being exactly what was promised. If a company, game developer, or otherwise introduces a bad product, it's up to the consumer to show them the ramifications thereof. But if players are willing to blindly consume said product, without taking the time to do the most basic research on what's being offered, they are at least partly to blame when a fool and their money are swiftly parted. When the Pokemon Go Fest Max Finale was announced and proclaimed to be the biggest event yet, I read over the details and genuinely wondered if they were talking about something else. And I truly hope that the poor reception to this event serves as a learning opportunity for all parties involved. For the developers, I hope they learn that if you promise a major event, it will be judged by the standards of others. And I hope players look more closely at what an event offers before committing their precious time and resources to it. I know it's always more comforting to take the path of least resistance and blame external forces for things that disappoint us, but regardless of how much you devoted to this event, that you take a moment for introspection to help guide your future decisions while playing this game. But what do you think? How was your Max Finale? Let me know down in the comments, and as always, stay safe out there, trainers.